Hello, and welcome to the Beehive. I'm a little nervous, and if you can hear it, I'm also a little bit sick, and I definitely was not expecting this to be my first video. I'm literally in the middle of setting up my platforms, editing a bunch of videos, and my content was supposed to be geared more towards my art, finding out whether or not it's good enough to be monetized, learning how to market my art, how to be an entrepreneur, so to speak. So my first video being a speed paint commentary, not quite what I had planned. I'm also aware that this topic has been beaten to death with a stick multiple times. Yeah. But I have beef, okay? This is like mom-to-mom beef because Colleen said one very specific thing in her ukulele fiasco that was blatantly wrong. It was wrong, okay? She relied on the parents to decide if they were okay with their kids watching her content. And I cannot tell you how tone-deaf that statement is. Mama McIntyre and the rest of the parents in this boat don't deserve to be shaded like that, and I feel like I have to say something. But if you came here looking for a full rundown, sorry, that's not what this is. Swoop is doing an amazing doc on the situation, and I could never do the story the justice that she will. Go follow her. She'll probably have the most well-put-together timeline of the entire thing. You'll get a whole overview, all of it. Or better yet, go listen to the people who've been hurt. Go watch their videos. They deserve the views, okay? What I want to talk about is childhood development and toxic femininity. In the background, you will see a speed paint of Trisha Paytas. I used a combination of color blocking and sketching throughout the video, and I chose Trisha Paytas because regardless of what she's done in her past, and don't get it wrong, I don't stand for it, but I was pleasantly surprised with how she handled this. I personally think it shows growth. How much growth remains to be seen, but yeah. I did this speed paint in Procreate because let's face it, my ass is broke and I don't have a computer. It's something that I'm working towards. If you want to see my journey of starting a business, building a website, creating a marketing plan, all from a single iPad that was a gift from my mom because moms are the best, please follow my socials. It will either be an amazing journey of growth or an epic and entertaining disaster. Either way, it's a win-win for you, right? All the links will be in the description. Also, please like and subscribe to my channel because let's face it, this is just me yelling into the ether at this point, and I would like to have someone on the other end. Please subscribe. All right, back to that line and why it annoys me. I'm a mother of two. I also run a day home, I also used to run a day home. I don't run a day home now. What am I doing? What is this? So, yeah, anyway, I know a thing or two about raising kids and have had a hand in helping to raise more than 15 of them. I did a lot of reading and research about early childhood development over the years. Being a part of curating a healthy, safe environment was literally my job. So it shakes me to my core when someone who knows what her audience demographic is says it's up to the parents to decide if they are comfortable. As if parents have complete control over what their kids see and hear all the time. It's delusional. And here's why. Parents don't get to design their children. It doesn't matter how strict you are, whether you teach them baby sign language. I know we would all love to believe in the Mozart effect, where if we as parents play classical music to our children while they're still in the womb, that they'll somehow come out geniuses. That somehow if we keep throwing all these things at them, forcing them to jump and fetch like a dog, that they will be the one to grow up to cure cancer. Don't get me wrong, the environment in which your child grows up is extremely important, and what you put into that environment is equally as important up to a certain point. But parents just don't have that degree of power over their children, and honestly, they shouldn't. Scientists have been doing research in fields like neuroimaging, behavior genetics, developmental psychology, neuropsychology for years, trying to nail down what perfect parenting looks like. And what they discovered is this. Your child is born with more than 400 psychological traits that will grow and come out as they mature, and they have absolutely nothing to do with you as a parent. They just don't. It's a freeing statement, but it's also a terrifying one. The idea that a parent has enough control over their child, over what their child sees and hears, and are exposed to, let alone how your child will interact with and what they will take away from that exposure. The idea that a parent can design a child is a ridiculous impossibility. The Blank Slate by Steven Pinkers explains that the better way to look at the development of a child is that they are a mosaic of your extended family, the product of their environment, their social circles, in short. The most impact a parent can have on their child's development is to try, and I want to emphasize the word try, to steer them towards environments that will benefit their child's growth. Do you see what I'm getting at? The environment in which a child grows up is the most crucial thing in a child's development. So what kind of environment did Colleen create for these kids? Kids who were old enough to go to a friend's house without parent supervision, who spend most of their days away from their parent, either at school or with a babysitter or doing after-school activities, whatever have you. Kids who would also be considered old enough to have a computer, to be online with a little to no supervision, who have cell phones with the internet on them, and she's expecting it to be up to the parents to decide what their kid sees and hears? If I had that much control over my 16-year-old, her bedroom would be clean, and I wouldn't feel like pulling teeth to get her to do her homework. So with everything that's come out, the sexually charged conversations in private, making fun of fans and other creators, encouraging her fans to make fun of other fans and dig up dirt so that they can be besties with her, she threw her weight around in a toxic environment where she created a hierarchy for her fans who would do anything to get her attention, including agreeing to keeping the chats a secret. Look, the environment a child is exposed to determines whether they are properly nourished and, yes, whether they are protected from harm. So her shirking the responsibility onto the parents with how involved she was in creating these toxic environments, knowing her audience demographic, where she engaged with children, is just crazy. That is the power of an influencer. They have a heavy hand in the environment they create for their fans. All influencers need to look at the impact they have on the lives of these kids. Colleen's audience is filled with kids that see themselves as awkward, shy, who are struggling to fit in. The theater kids whom their classmates already ridicule, just because they're a little different. So you can see how the character of Miranda Sings would be appealing to kids who feel like they're struggling to fit in. They kind of see themselves in the character. Miranda Sings is the embodiment of all of my teenage angst. But the character wasn't created so Colleen could relate to that awkwardness. No. It was created because she was making fun of an amalgamation of people throughout her life. And she couldn't say what she really felt about these people, allegedly. This is what these screenshots and clips of her circulating on the internet show. So yeah, the character is a meme and a way for her to get away with things she couldn't say, because she'd get canceled. So it would seem that her character is the embodiment of her making fun of her own fans and people she didn't like. The lack of accountability in the hand that she played in creating that toxicity, sitting there saying that we're all jumping on a gossip train, is a little ironic. Seriously, just look at the screenshots of how she would talk to these kids. It's disgusting. Let's look at what she did specifically to Trisha, because it speaks volumes to her character. Making fun of Trisha's body, having literal viewing parties where her and her friends made fun of her body. These were adults we're talking about, spending their free time being catty. And then to say to Trisha's face, "Oh no, I wasn't sending your nudes to people to make fun of you. They were sending them to me." Like, what? What? She used Trisha for views and money. Yeah, money, because they had the podcast together, and it was very, very clear that Trisha was the one creating the set, buying all the costumes, all the props, doing all of that. So, like, how do you have the nerve to call Adam a clout goblin when you're using somebody you make fun of for money? The mean girlness, the toxic femininity is complicated in this situation, and it runs deep. I think a lot of us have experienced what toxic femininity is, but it is one of those terms that can be kind of hard to define because it comes in so many different forms. So what is it? Some would define it as a woman participating in and the projection of a misogynistic ideology on another woman. Kind of like when a woman says, you're a slut if you have sex before marriage because it decreases your value. But what does that have to do with Colleen? Well, women who participate in this behavior will often do things like body checking, saying things that put themselves above another woman, calling attention to another woman's flaws to make themselves look more appealing. Commenting on someone else's body is usually societally unacceptable. Like men with their alpha mentality crap, women have over the years created these kinds of hierarchies within their own social circles. Anthropologically speaking, these circles are used to define who is the most ideal mate. The popular girl versus the pimply geek, so to speak. It's all kind of bullshit, honestly, but you can see it in how women treat each other in the workplace and the tactics that they use to step on each other to get ahead, either in the dating world or socially. The impact of this can be seen mostly in junior high and high school students. Hello, Colleen. Yeah, I'm calling you out because you're acting like a high school student. Yeah, because it's a petri dish of that Lord of the Flies mentality. A time in our lives when we actually believe that a person's size and how pretty they are actually matters. Ironically, the age group of Colleen's demographic. You see what I'm getting at? Which is probably why she was able to get away with it for so long. Because at that age, it's pretty normalized. I went to schools where this was the case, where there was a Regina George and everybody bowed down to the Regina George. And the Regina George would talk shit about you. And then you had to sit there and deal with everybody. It really depended on who her target was that week, right? So you see what I'm trying to get at, right? Like, I know that it happens, and I know how aware kids are of this social hierarchy, which is part of the reason why it bothers me so much. Knowing what she did to Trisha and how she exposed these kids to this form of toxicity, making fun of her fans' bodies, mental health, disabilities, even their health problems, even going as far as to say they're making it up so that they can get my attention. Please. She probably will never see this, but I have to get it off my chest, mom to mom. If one of her kids grows up to have a weight problem, God forbid, is she going to make fun of them? I ask this because she seems to be fine making fun of other people's children. Would she stand up and stand by and laugh if someone was making fun of her child because it's all just jokes? It's just a character? A meme? It's funny, right? How would she feel as a parent if her child came home and said to her, Mom, Jimmy told Sally and May and everyone at school that I'm ugly and I'm fat, or whatever have you, whatever the issue is. And now everyone is making fun of me. Helpless is how I would hope she would feel. That's how I felt. My kid was forced to deal with some of the worst toxic femininity and targeted bullying, and I was heartbroken. Watching the pain my kid was going through, knowing that even if I went to the school and I talked to the teachers and somehow magically managed to get it to stop, the damage had already been done. Maybe I'm missing the joke, but what exactly is funny? Or even PG-13 about molestation? I don't get it. In 1997, Judy Harris wrote a book called The Nature Assumption. And she explains that where a parent chooses to live, or is forced to live, because let's face it, poverty exists, has more to do with a child's growth and development than a parent themselves do. Seriously, short of abuse, neglect, and malnutrition, the environment in which a child grows up in, outside of your home, or within the internet sphere, because let's face it, that's a thing, will have more of an impact on your child than a parent ever could. Out-of-home influences, largely things that are outside of a parent's control, are the single most powerful force in shaping the course of a child's life. Those out-of-home influences are things like peer groups, resources, schools, neighborhoods, the communities available to said child, and yeah, you guessed it, other adults. Still think that a parent has enough control over their child that they can decide wholeheartedly if they are okay with them watching Miranda Sings content when they could see it at a friend's house? school, or just in those moments when they are left alone with a computer or a phone. Scientists studied twins to find out how much impact a parent has, and they were able to calculate just how much of their behavior is due to parenting. The peak years of parental influence in a child's life are below the age of 7. 7. From the age of 7 to 12, that influence drastically, overwhelmingly drops. After 15, a parent can expect to have less than 6% of the influence in their child's life. Miranda Singh's demographic is 12 to 17. Imagine having the nerve to say that it's up to parents to decide if they are comfortable with their kids watching her content, let alone interacting with her online, when most kids aren't actively talking to their parents about it at that age. And parents can have those conversations about online safety until they are blue in the face, and most of the time it will go in one ear and out the other, because by the time they are that age, they think that they can tell the difference between when someone's just trying to be a bestie and when someone might not have their interest at heart. Because we all watched, what was that? Chris Hansen and his thing. So we all think that we know what it looks like. The problem is it's slow. It's so slow, it's almost imperceptible when you're in it. You can't see it. And kids don't understand that. So how a child learns how to deal with these things, the knowledge that they possess about how the world functions, is a function of their environment that they're exposed to. Knowing that my kids' friends will have more of an impact on my child's development than I will, that the environment curated around them has the biggest impact on how they move through the world, is truly terrifying. Colleen created an environment where she encouraged fans, people's children, to bully and harass other people's children, where it was okay to break someone's privacy because she asked her fans, who are children, to dig up dirt and dox people, where sexualized jokes were normalized. Like, I can't. Don't get me wrong, I don't think that she had any intentions to actually sexually assault a child, but she did make jokes that normalized it, blurring the lines for those children going through it. She normalized making fun of people who are overweight, made fun of and gossiped about whether a fan was actually sick, made it okay to make fun of other people's disabilities, profiting off of and making fun of someone's pain. Her content is on the YouTube Kids app. I checked. I downloaded the app and I typed Miranda Sings in the search bar. It's on there. So it's just so frustrating to say it's up to the parents. Like, dude, parents are forced to trust that what is going on in their kids' environments and the people affecting them have their kids' best interests at heart. Her impact on the children in this scenario is greater than she thinks. It's a huge slap in the face. And even if we could control whether our children watch her, it would only be in our own house. What about when they go to school, to a friend's house, visiting family? I gotta tell you, I learned some of the raunchiest stuff from my cousins. And because I wasn't home, and because my mom wasn't in the room, and there was no one there with the wherewithal to say, hey, she's like 3 years younger than you, maybe talking about giving your boyfriend a blowy when she knows nothing about that stuff, not a good idea. Is it my mom's fault that I knew what sex was at the age of 9? Nope. Hell no. Full stop. You could argue it was my cousin's fault, but they were young too. Literal children. Colleen has modeled the absolute worst of toxic femininity to her young fans. And yes, she was a role model. That's what an influencer is. Making fun of them and gossiping behind their back while pretending to be besties, shaming them, sending her followers after fans that have fallen out of her favor, making fun of people for how they look and their sizes, illnesses, and disabilities. Like, I don't know how many times I can repeat myself on that. How are you going to dog on people who literally built your career from the ground up? She said she never meant any harm. Whether she meant to hurt these children or not is besides the point. She did. She hurt them in more ways than I think she even realizes. And accountability is owning your actions. She did those things, intentional or not. She should still make amends. But she is busy out here lying, saying that she did this years ago and took accountability, when there's proof that she left a group chat, like, just a little over a week ago, that she was active in. So you can add that she's teaching children and fans that it's okay to lie. She created this environment that has hurt children. What is happening is a product of her actions. Do I wish her harm? No. I hope she takes this time to introspect on her impact on her fans. I hope she learns and grows from this, because one day it will be her kids put in this position. It will be her kids who have other kids online making fun of them, because we all go through that at some point. It will be her kids who get bullied at school, because that's just how the world works. Everybody experiences it to some degree. So what is she going to do? How she handles this situation will greatly affect them. And it's so important for her to address that. Anyway, that's it. I could sit here and rant forever, but I'm not gonna. So stay safe. I hope you find your joy. And subscribe.